So I wanted to take a few minutes and show one of my favorite parts about Excel, and that's actually how to create a pivot table. I have a whole list of data here that I would like to um, filter down into the items that I've sold the most time. And they're just random cell items that I put into a log. So to create a pivot table, it's actually quite simple. You click on Insert File tab, and then click on the pivot table insert button. And then it asks a couple questions about the area that the information's in. So you select all of that area. You can put it to external data if there's another Excel workbook that you're pulling information into, and then the location that you want to put the information. So in this case, I'm going to put it into a new tab, or I can select and put it in on this current tab that I have or another tab within the workbook. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and that actually creates the pivot table. Now, on the right side is the pivot table fields, and it has 4 different spots that you can put information. You have a filter area, a columns area, which the data would spread over the top, or a row area, the data spreads on the sides, and then your values that you want. In this case, I'm going to put all the information in my row column, and that's going to list all of the items that were sold. And then I'm going to take all of my cells, and I'm going to put it in the values. Now in the values, you have a couple of different options to see that field in. You can get the total count of all the items, the total, the value of each of the items, the max, what the max was for each of the items. In this case, since I have the number of sales listed in my sum of sales, that's the data that I want to pull. Now everything that's in column A is going to be based on the alphabetical order. And so as it pulls that data through, we're going to be able to see, which of all of the different items that are listed is the one that is going to provide the most, like which one is the most that has been sold. So there's been a total of 3,621 items sold total. And then we can go through and we can find which ones are the best sellers. So I see this one right here, that's 710. And see if there's anything else that's that high. The closest other one I see, this one's 418. So I would definitely say that the best seller of all the items that I have is the LLCS. So there's a couple of other things you can do with this data as well too. You can go through and filter any of the items that you specifically want to. If you want to limit your filter, you can put like all of them that include an A, and it would only display those items that have that particular quality within them. So it's a pretty easy way to get information put together. I can also do it. Let's say I didn't have the numbers of the number of sales, but I just had the number of sales based on the quantity of items. You can also come in here and you can put it in as a count. So we count each of the items. So I'm going to pull that back out. So each of the items then would be counted each individual time. So each one of these that would be sold, if there was an individual item sold, then it would just count those individual times. So if I come in and I take a look at my data now, this is just a count of the number of items that are in there. So looking at this, it looks like it's exactly the same items which have the most quantity, the most number of items. So the LLCS and the OTHZ are the 2 items that were definitely sold the most out of all of them. You can also come into different filters in here based on, you can sort, you can also put in a specific, the equals greater than, or contains a specific information in it. So there's quite a bit of power within it, being able to go in and actually bring the data down to just the items that you're looking for. And so, it's a pretty easy way to access information and to filter through it to see if there's specific quantities or numbers, or if there's a trend that you're looking for. One of the cool things is you can also put these into pivot tables. So you do the same thing. You select all the data. And what I was doing there is just holding down Control and Alt and then using the arrow keys, and you can select all the data really quickly. And then when I go back into insert, I can actually insert an actual pivot table instead of inserting, not a pivot table, but a pivot chart. And so you can come over into the pivot chart, which is over here, and you can insert that information. It's the same kind of setup as before. And then as you put the information in, it actually populates a nice little chart. So I could, the items that are going to be in the axis, and I'm going to put the total sales in the values, and then it'll go through and add in and have a nice visual effect on this total sales, which makes it really easy to see which one of all the items was the most sold. So it's just another way to look at the data to be able to find what you're looking for in a very visual way. It's kind of one of those nice things about pivot tables is you can manipulate the data really quickly. So with the pivot chart, you can come in here and you can do the exact same thing. You can come in and you can put in like all items with L's. It would pull up just that information. So as you update this pivot table, it updates the pivot chart itself. So it's a pretty easy way to filter down information. I think the one we want had the I in it, IIL. Do all of them with I, and it'll pop up and show that one, that IIL is the one that had the highest quantity of sales for that particular item. So hopefully you enjoyed my live video. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment and I'll be happy to respond. And have a great weekend.